Welcome back to Designsmith. If this video has actually reached you, that means that I was actually able to finish it. I was sick all weekend and I'm still feeling a little bit of the effects of it, so I'm not exactly feeling 100% right now. So hopefully I can get through this video and then afterwards I'm going to go lay down. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do this really cool 3D typography effect in Photoshop. Before we get started, please consider subscribing to support the channel. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is start in Illustrator. Alright, so I'm here in Illustrator, and for your reference, I'm using a document that is 18 inches wide and 24 inches tall. Okay, so I've got my text typed out right here. Unfortunately, I have no idea what font that was because I created this design several years ago. So I'm just going to cycle through and see if I can find that same font or just find something similar. It definitely works best if you can find a really nice thick font. And also because of the 3D look, you want it to look maybe a little bit retro. You want to look for something that's a little bit on the blocky side, but it's also nice and unique to capture that retro feel. All right, so I think this one is really cool. This is called Gigalips. And the first thing that caught my eye on this is that it looks like an old television set from like the 1950s or something. So very cool. This is what we'll be going with. All right, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to select everything and let's go over here to character. And the first thing we want to do is set it to optical kerning. That gives us a really good starting point for kerning this type. If there's anything that we want to go in and make some adjustments on, we can do that. If you want to get even better with kerning, check out this video right up here. Okay, I've got the kerning exactly as I want. Now what we're going to do is manipulate this text a little bit more. What I want is for each line of the type to be exactly the same width. So what I'm going to do is select everything here. I'm going to go over here to type and create outlines. And now with everything still selected, I'm going to ungroup everything. So I'm going to hit Shift, Command, and G, or Shift, Control, G if you're on Windows. And now I can select each one of these lines individually. So I'm going to select this top one and group it, select this one and group it, and this one and group it. So I think that it's a good practice to get in the habit of doing, but I'm going to select all three of these, select the top one, and go over here to the Align panel. If it's not up here for you, make sure you go to Window and Align, and then it'll show up over here. And we're just going to align everything to the horizontal center. Now we're going to select the top line and go over here to transform. And I'm going to do something like 12 inches. This number doesn't actually matter. All that matters is that they're all the same width. So select this one and we'll enter 12 inches. And same thing with the last one. All right, so now they're all exactly the same width. So now we're going to select all three of these. I'm going to select the top one, and we're going to go over here to the distribute spacing in the align panel. If you don't see it, then go over here and make sure that show options is selected. And I'll try something like 1/4 of an inch, and I think the spacing on that is good. Now I'm going to select all of this and go over to the Pathfinder and click on Unite. This is going to make everything one continuous shape. This is another way of grouping things together. So you can select this and pick it up, and now it's all one unit. All right, so the last thing we're going to do in Illustrator is go up here to Object, Transform, and Shear. And we want to shear this vertically, and I'm going to do -20 degrees. And this next step really is optional. I just like to do it because it's a habit, but I just go over here to Pathfinder and click on Unite. That will make sure that all of the effects that are applied to the text are removed while still maintaining the appearance. Okay, so now we're going to copy this, and I've got a new document open in Photoshop, so we're going to hit Paste. And we're going to change this to Smart Object and hit OK. And I'm going to bring it to about right here. I'm not really too concerned with the exact sizing of this. All that really matters is that it's nice and large in the center of the poster. All right, so I'm going to name this layer as 3D Text Bottom. And I'm going to double click on the thumbnail here. And this is going to take us right back into Illustrator. And I need to change this color from black to red and hit OK. And now we can just hit Save. And now that updates. And now I need to make a copy of this layer by hitting Command J on my keyboard. Going to double click on this text and change bottom to top, and we can just get rid of copy there. And we need to hide this top layer temporarily. And now I'm going to go over here to the bottom layer and double click on it. And we're going to click on Bevel and Emboss. So this is actually going to be a preset that I went ahead and saved before I started this video, but we'll go through this. So for the style, we've got Inner Bevel. Technique, we've got Chisel Hard. Depth is 100%. Direction is down. Size is 25, but I'm actually going to increase that to about 50. And soften, we're going to leave it 0. And for shading, 90 degrees, use global light, 30 degrees altitude, gloss contour linear. I'm going to check anti-aliased, and we're going to leave highlight mode at normal with an opacity of 50% and shadow mode normal and opacity at 50%. And just hit OK. And now we're going to go over here to the layers panel, hold down Option on Mac or Alt on Windows, right above that FX icon right there. And we're going to click and drag up to that top layer. So now these both have the exact same bevel and emboss effects. And we can collapse both of these arrows right here. We don't need those anymore. And now we're going to make sure the top one is selected and go over here to our blending mode and change it to difference. And as you can see, we've already got a little bit of that effect happening there. And now with the top layer selected, let's hold down Shift on our keyboards. I'm going 20 pixels to the left, so that's 2 strokes on the keyboard while holding down Shift, and now we'll go up 20 pixels. So now we've got this really cool 3D text effect going on. And now it's time to apply some effects to the top of this. This is a photocopy texture, and I'll link to this down in the description below. So now we're just gonna pick this up and bring it over here to our file and just drop it right there. And now we're gonna center this, and we will scale this up, and I'm gonna hold down Shift so that we can go to the exact proportions there. And we need to change this blending mode to difference. And now we can hit Command or Control I on our keyboards to invert those colors. And now we've got a really cool texture being applied to the actual text itself. Now there's one more texture that we're going to add here, and it's going to be a halftone pattern. So let's create a new layer, and I'm going to name it halftone. And I'm going to fill it with 50% gray, hit OK. And we're going to go up here to Filter and Filter Gallery. And right here under Sketch, we're going to select halftone pattern. And for the pattern, I'm going to bring it down to about a 2. And we're going to leave the contrast at 50. And we're going to do the pattern type as dot. And hit OK. And now we're going to change the blending mode of that halftone pattern to overlay. And it's a little bit strong, so let's drop it down to about 50%. And now we've got that really cool halftone pattern that's showing up in all of these different areas, especially the color areas. And I'll show you this last part. It's optional, but I think that it adds a lot more depth to it. So we're going to add a circle halftone. And just like before, we're going to hit Shift and Delete and fill it with 50% gray. Hit OK. And go up here to Filter. Filter Gallery, and we're still on halftone pattern, and now we're going to change this to circle. And that's going to give us these really cool concentric circles going from the center and outward. And we're going to hit OK and do the same thing as before, change the blending mode to overlay. And now I think I'll drop this down to about a 25%. So here you go. Here is your 3D text with your really cool pattern overlays. And there's one last thing you can do with this if you ever want to change the colors. There's a couple of ways to do this, but one thing you can do is double click on the thumbnail and you can change the colors directly in here. And then make sure you hit save and hit yes if that comes up. Go back in here to Photoshop, and then those colors will adjust. However, if you want to do it directly inside of Photoshop, this is a cool way to do it. If you go up here to create an adjustment layer, we're going to click on Hue and Saturation, and with red and blue already being really nice complementary colors, if you adjust the hue right here, it will keep that relationship there. So you can change it to like this green and purple right here. You can go even more 50s retro by doing this teal and pink color, and you can also go to the opposite direction where you can do like a blue and yellow, or like a orange and blue. So you've got plenty of options there. And also, if you want to make the colors a little bit more vibrant, you can just crank up the saturation a little bit. That plus 30 looks really cool. All right, well, here's the full size, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today in Photoshop. If you did, please leave a like on the video and consider subscribing to support the channel. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.